Good afternoon, and thanks everyone for being here for this exciting announcement. I am very happy to be joined by Governor Martinez and Mayor Berry and Representative-elect Pacheco for today's Silver Alert announcement. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Governor Susana Martinez.
Thank you, Secretary Ward, and thank you all for being here. It is an honor to be here today with all of you, and of course with Mayor Berry and Representative-elect Paul Pacheco, who you all know was a police officer here in Albuquerque, to reconfirm our commitment, of course, to our elders. To New Mexicans who, throughout the years, have made tremendous contributions to our communities, helping to shape our great state, playing an important role in our history and creating, of course, the New Mexico that we're all so proud of. New Mexico seniors are one of our greatest assets, and they're one of our greatest treasures, and it is our obligation to take care of them, giving them the respect and the dignity that they deserve. Unfortunately, recent statistics reveal that nearly 31,000 New Mexicans are living with Alzheimer's and/or some form of dementia. This is often a very scary struggle, not only for the person suffering from the disease, but also for family members, caregivers, and other loved ones. I know firsthand the effects of this disease. My own family is facing these challenges. I'm fortunate enough, though, that my father lives at home and has three wonderful caregivers 24 hours a day, and there's not a way for him to leave the home alone and to wander off and forget where his home is. However, not everyone is that fortunate. And I know that the struggles my family faces are not unique. There are many families, whether they be in Clovis or Silver City or Farmington or Gallup, who are living with the scary realities of age-related memory loss. New Mexico is one extended family, and when one of us suffers, we all suffer. But then we all pull together. That is why I am excited to announce my intention to pursue legislation that would create a statewide public notification system that will broadcast information about missing persons who suffer from Alzheimer's disease or dementia. We have seen the successful implementation of this type of program here in Albuquerque, and it is called the Silver Alert. And in a minute, Mayor Berry is going to share with us more details about the lives this new system has touched and its effectiveness. Much like the Amber Alert system that triggers statewide notification when a child goes missing. When someone signed up with New Mexico's Silver Alert goes missing, state police will be alerted. And they use a variety of media outlets, television, radio, electronic billboards, social media, and other methods to alert the public. They will immediately begin searching for missing individuals who are ages 60 or older and suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia. And I am thrilled that Representative-elect Pacheco has offered to partner with me on this initiative. I admire his willingness to jump on and into this process even before he has been sworn in, to lead in this area. I am confident that he will work collaboratively with his colleagues in the legislature to pass this legislation that will better protect our seniors and provide much needed support to New Mexico families, caregivers, and individuals suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. I can't tell you what a horrible feeling it is, because my grandmother also had Alzheimer's before she died, to be looking out the kitchen window and watching her in her robe across the street, walking away. And had I not someone been at the window looking out, where she would have wandered off to. And so this would allow for a system to be in place so that had she walked away and we hadn't seen her and where she went, that we could quickly call 911, and state police will become involved, and so will all of you. So thank you, everyone who is here to join us in our efforts. I look forward to working with each of you as we take seriously our responsibility to care for our elders, those among us who are vulnerable, suffering from the terrible effects of this tragic disease. And now I'm going to ask that Cabinet Secretary Reddick come back, and so that Mayor Berry can explain to you how successful this program has been here in Albuquerque and how successful it can be throughout the state of New Mexico.
Thank you, Governor Martinez. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Albuquerque's Mayor Richard Berry.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Secretary Ward. I appreciate it very much. Governor, congratulations on this initiative. And Rep-elect Pacheco, we know that you'll enjoy this as one of your first bills because this is important work. And this that I'm holding in my hand can make all the difference in someone's life. And it has in Albuquerque, and I know with the governor's initiative and with Representative-elect Pacheco that they will take this to the statewide level, and I would imagine that this would have tremendous bipartisan support because this is a really meaningful program. I want to start by thanking a few of the people at the city of Albuquerque that really worked hard to make this happen. Chief Schultz is not with us this afternoon, but my Director of Senior Affairs, Georgia Armijo Brasher, is. And Miles Copeland is here with the Alzheimer's Association. And these are all people that got together and started working on the Silver Alert program in the city of Albuquerque. Over the past 9 months, we've had hundreds of families in Albuquerque who have taken the simple step of registering their loved one and getting valuable information on this thumb drive that looks just like this. And in the last 9 months, we've had 10 families who have benefited from the services provided by the Silver Alert program. The very first success story occurred on February 29th, just 15 days after the program was launched. APD Officer Robert Gibbs was instrumental in this first Silver Alert, which happened to occur outside of Albuquerque city limits. Sean Nolan, who's with us today, contacted the Sheriff's Department and requested a Silver Alert be activated for his mother, Mabel Nolan, who's also with us here today, who had been last seen around 3:30 p.m. The Sheriff's Department referred the family to APD, and since they had not registered for the Silver Alert program, Officer Gibbs drove miles outside of the city limits just to meet the family. Officer Gibbs helped the family fill out the necessary forms, and he then activated the alert. 3 hours later, a woman at the Greyhound bus stop who had seen the Silver Alert on television saw Mrs. Nolan. Miss Nolan, who suffers from Alzheimer's, could only recall a neighbor's phone number that she remembered from 20 years ago. This Good Samaritan then contacted the neighbor who, even after 20 years, knew who Miss Nolan's son was and was able to contact him and arrange for the much-wanted reunion. We were never actually able to get the name of the Good Samaritan. We looked and looked, but the Good Samaritan was nowhere to be found. But from what was initially reported to the neighbor, the woman saw the alert on a smartphone, I guess it was, either from Twitter or online. Both the Albuquerque Journal and KRQE had tweeted the alert the same day. It was also posted on 24 billboards throughout the city of Albuquerque. So that's what the Silver Alert system does in Albuquerque. We register families. If there's a loved one who's missing, we can get it on billboards, we can get it on the internet, we can get it on the news stations, we can get it on websites, and that really makes a difference. The governor did a great job of explaining the need for this. We have thousands of people, tens of thousands of people in New Mexico who suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia and who could potentially wander off and harm themselves. Prior to launching the Silver Alert program in Albuquerque, we had too many tragic stories about people who became lost under dangerous circumstances. Had they been found quickly, chances are they'd still be with us today. And I'll end on one of these stories, and then I want to have Mr. Nolan come up and speak. But one of those heartbreaking examples was Mr. Kenneth Payne. On January 31st, 73-year-old Kenneth Payne was found dead in a ravine in Ruidoso, 9 days after being lost. Mr. Payne was in the early stages of dementia and Alzheimer's when police reported that he went missing on January 20th. His disappearance led to a search by New Mexico and Texas authorities, and I'm confident that if this governor's proposal had been in place at that time and that this gentleman would have been part of the Silver Alert program, the outcome would have been much, much better. So, once again, Governor Martinez, thank you for this initiative. And Representative Pacheco, Secretary Ward, thank you so much as well. I mentioned Sean Nolan earlier, and he came with his mom today because he wants to talk about the program and what it meant to him and his family. So with that, I'd like to invite Sean Nolan to come up and say just a few words about the Silver Alert program. And thank you also, Mrs. Nolan, for coming today and sharing your story. Sean, go right ahead.
I just want to say the Silver Alert, if it hadn't been for Officer Gibbs, that would have been the longest night of my life. I heard about the Silver Alert through a friend, and I contacted Officer Gibbs, and he contacted his supervisor, and they allowed him to come down to our house in the South Valley, which was out in the area. We'd already been looking with a handful of people for about 4 or 5 hours at that point. Knowing that the rest of the city was helping me look for my mother at that point took a huge weight off of my shoulders. And then it was only a few hours before we found her and got her home and safe and sound. And she didn't even know she thought she was having dinner with some friends. It was a great program, and it means the world, and I hope everybody can support it. It's amazing. Just to have that weight lifted off your shoulders, to help know that someone else is helping you look, other than whatever friends you can get together. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for sharing the story of the success of your mother's return. And thank you, Mayor Barry, for telling us about how the program works in Albuquerque. I'd now like to introduce Representative-elect Paul Pacheco, who is the sponsor of this new legislation.
First of all, I'd like to thank Governor Martinez and Mayor Barry for their leadership in this initiative. I think it's wonderful that we are working collaboratively to get a state statute in place that mirrors and expands upon the Silver Alert. A couple of things, and I don't want to bore you too much, but I have a personal interest in this. Both of my parents suffer from dementia and Alzheimer's. My mom passed 2 years ago. My father, who's still currently alive, but has been greatly affected by this disease. I am also fortunate in that my father is being taken care of, and we have the help that we need. But early on, when my mom passed, my dad wandered off right after she passed away, and thank goodness my brother was there to find him within a relatively short time. As a police officer for 27 years, this is a critical issue. Information needs to be made available statewide. It's imperative that police officers have the information, personal information, photographs, so that they may conduct an effective and quick search to locate these individuals. So I will do everything in my power to work across party lines along with fellow Republicans and Democrats in the House and the Senate, and expand and make sure that this initiative comes to a successful conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative-elect Pacheco. Thank you, Governor Martinez. Thank you, Sean, and I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Mabel. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mary Barrett, for being here. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Miles. I appreciate everyone's present. You know, it's estimated that 60% of people with Alzheimer's or other dementia will wander at some point in their lives. So this is a tremendous program that can alleviate the worry that families have when their loved ones have Alzheimer's or another dementia. So thank you all for being here. Thanks everyone for your support of this important legislation. And several people will remain behind for questions if there are questions that you would like to have answered.
I know there was mentioned that this will be implemented through DPS. I'm curious, if it's going through DPS, why it needs legislation? Why can't it just be implemented through policy?
Well, it is implemented through DPS, and where's Gordon?
Right here.
Oh, you are. Why don't you come and help me with this?
Sure.
Because it also has to go through lots of departments.
In 2010, the legislature passed the Missing and Endangered Persons statute. And one of the problems that we've seen with 2 years of looking at this, it lacks those compelling words such as shall and will. The governor's effort is based on the success stories from Albuquerque, and what we would like to do is go in and change that statute to adequately reflect, as we do in other statutes, specific alerts. In this case, we have an Amber Alert statute right now that also needs help. And in this case, we would have a specific silver alert statute.
So this is basically an amendment to current statutes to change language for Amber Alerts and while also inserting language about this silver alert.
That is correct. It's very important for us to go in and look at this legislation and correct those words that say may, make them compelling, shall. It's also very important for us to make sure that not only families are aware of this, but also caregivers, so they know and they understand that they have the ability and the capability to contact local law enforcement to initiate a silver alert. Those are the things that are very, very important. And we believe that through the governor's efforts that we will take the model ordinances that the city has put in place and work to make our state statute reflect what works.
And it starts with state police, but then it goes to all of the police departments, small and large, all throughout the state. And it is a requirement. And it's a requirement of what media outlets, who they have to connect with. And then we want to try to see if we can get some sort of an application, where you can be alerted on your telephone, on your iPhone, so that we can get that information out as fast as we can. But it's a requirement and not something that you're allowed to do.
Considering that the legislature has been an inhospitable place recently, if this doesn't go through the legislature, it doesn't land on your desk, is there another way to implement this in some fashion?
Well, certainly Albuquerque has done it on their own. It would require each of the cities and the police departments to do it. But regardless of what's happening at the legislature, I can't imagine that they're going to tell Mabel, and
Right.
tell them what Mabel stands for.
Her loving mother.
They're going to tell her no. I doubt it.
That's correct.